Welcome. This week we're going to learn Parshas Metzora, but before I start, I'd like to say that next week we don't have a Parsha next week, but as Binyamin suggested, and since Binyamin and I are both Enkel of Baal Shem Tov, and there's a minig in the Mishpach of Baal Shem Tov that he had a Hatzalah, and there's a whole story that happened, and he was Nitzel, and he left a tzavah that Achim Shel Pesach, all his Einik should make a Susa Seidah and tell the story of his Hatzalah. So next week, that's what we're going to do. We'll cover Pesach. We're going to tell the story of that Hatzalah of the Baal Shem Tov. So the Parsha says, towards the end of the Parsha, you have the Parsha of Nigei Batim. That you have a tzaras in the house, and what you do when you find a nega in the house. So the pasuk says like this: Ki sevoyu leretz Knan, when you come to Eretz Knan, asher yinois lechem lachuzo, v'nosati nega tzaras bebeis eretz achuzaschem. I'm going to make negoim in the houses. So Rashi says, what does it mean I'm going to make negoim in the houses? It seems to be the Rebbe Shalom is promising that he's going to make negoim. And so Rashi says, "Besura hi lahem shanegoyim boim alayim," that there will be negoyim in the houses. Why? Lefi shetminu amorim atmoini shel zov b'kiris batahem. The amorim, the Canaanim who were living in Canaan. So kol haboim shel neshoi Yisrael b'midbar. The 40 years that Yisrael was in the midbar, so they knew the Jews are coming, and it's going to be trouble. Lahavdil, like during the Holocaust, people, when things started looking bad, people went, they put their valuables, they buried them in the ground, or they hid them somewhere. So they didn't know what's going to be. There's going to be an invasion of Jews, and the first thing they did, not the first thing, through Meshach of the 40 years, they kept hiding their valuables in the walls of the houses. And since there's a nega, so the house gets destroyed, and you find and they found the matmoinas, they found the gold in the walls. Now the Rambam says in Shmoyne Prokim, there's a whole discussion among the Rishonim if a person has bechira. The Chovos Levovos, the end of Shar Avodas Elkim, brings his machlokes that some say that the person does not have bechira, and whatever he does is all already ordained b'nei Shemayim, and all he could do is he could have a rotzen, what he wants, and the schar v'onish goes for the rotzen. But what you do, there's no bechira, and so this is the Chovos Levovos himself disagrees with that, and he holds you do have bechira. Rambam also holds there's bechira. So he says like this in Shmoyne Prokim, in the 8th parak, that everything has to be the way it is; it can't change. Everything a person has a bechira can do. Either choose to do good or choose to do bad. Like the pasuk says, the b'chayim. The Chovos Levovos brings that pasuk. So he says, there's one problem. You can see in certain psukim that the Rebbe Shalom is geyser that a person should do a bad thing. Where do you see this? One of these things is Mashnemer Lavrom. It says Vavodum v'ina oisam arba me'eshana. The Klal Yisrael is going to be in Golus, and they're going to be enslaved, and they're going to be oppressed, and they're going to work with them hard 400 years. So the people ask, Halithirish gozer al Mitzrayim. There's gozer al Mitzrayim. Sheich mesu zera Avram. They should oppress the descendants of Avram. V'loma anasham. Why did he punish them? They had no choice. So now the Rambam at the end of Perek Ches discusses the inyan of Yidiyah and Bechira. If the Rebbeinu Shalom knows, how does a person have bechira? And there's answers to that. The answer to that is, it's not a simple answer. And the Ravid says that there's no answer. But the Parshas, the reason is because the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't see things in sequence. The Rebbeinu Shalom's view of the world, we see everything according to time. One thing after another, after another, after another. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't see it in sequence. He sees everything, and we don't understand how the Rebbeinu Shalom's mind works. But he sees everything. So mainly he could see what you're choosing right now, because the future and the past are all the same to him. So he sees everything simultaneously. So he knows what you're going to do, but not because before you do it, the Rebbeinu Shalom already knew that you're going to do it. So mainly a person has bechira. So that's one inyan. Here is a different inyan. Now it's not Yediyas Hashem. Yediyas Hashem gets into understanding how the Rebbeinu Shalom's mind works, which is not understandable. Here he's saying something else. There's a gzeira. There's a gzeira in this world here. The Rebbeinu Shalom made a gzeira in this world that the Mitzrayim are going to enslave and oppress Klal Yisrael. So if there's a gzeira, how could you not do it? That's the question. It's not the same question as the question of Yediyah and Bechira. It's the question of how could it be. So the Rambam answers, Ki advorim she'omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Lo yamorim al ish yudua. He wasn't talking about a particular person. Achi yomer kfar nigzer olav. There's a gzeira on you that you have to do this thing. No. V'yomnam bo advorim l'klal. It's just in general. V'nishar kol ish v'ish b'bechirosai b'kitzirosai. Every individual Mitzri had the choice of participating in the oppression or not participating. So Avada, there was a gzeira that there would be an oppression. But each Mitzri didn't have to participate. So Memela, each Mitzri could be punished for choosing to participate in the oppression. So you can ask me, if everybody's going to say that, there won't be an oppression. Okay, so we're not going to get into that. But this is the Rambam Yisoid. The Rambam Yisoid is that if there's a gzeira, if it's no gzeira on a certain person befrat, then he has a bechira. So if you hear, the question is here. A person has a nega in his house. Now he got a nega because he spoke lashon hara, because he did a chet, and the Mishnah in the Goyim says that he's a rasha. So he's a rasha, and that's why he's punished, that he has a nega. And then when you smash his house, you find the gold. So if there had to be a nega to find the gold, so where is the bechira? He has no bechira. Then you can't say that he had a choice not to, because it's his house. So if he would not have done it, then nobody would have broken his house. So you can't say that. And b'chlal, the question is, why should a person that talks lashon hara be rewarded with gold? Why should he be rewarded by finding a matman in the walls of his house? But I think the answer is very pashut. I might even say it's a klotz kasha. Now the answer is this: that when a person had a nega, they smashed his house, they found the gold. Okay, so they found the gold. Somebody put gold there. Then another person had a nega, and you smashed his house, and you found the gold. And then a third person had a nega, and you smashed his house and you found the gold. What are the people of the country going to say? They're going to say, hey, 3 people have negoyim, and you smash the houses, you find gold. It must be that all the houses have gold. We all have gold. How does this happen? Just by coincidence, 3 people, you smashed the houses, and they had gold? No, they're going to chap. That the Canaanim, they took their gold, and they hid it in the walls. Oh, so everybody's going to go to their house and they're going to look for where there's a secret hiding place. They're going to tap on the walls, they're going to this, they're going to look, and they're going to find the gold. But this person that took lashon hara, his house is demolished. He doesn't, so everybody has a house and they have the gold. He has the gold, but he has no house. So there was gold. I imagine over 40 years, every house had valuables in the wall. Come on, I mean, unless somebody was such a goodness and a roman, that he had mamish nothing. But over 40 years, people had valuables. So every house had valuables. The Rebbeinu Shalom wanted in Megala to Klal Yisrael that there are valuables in the walls, and they should all check their walls and find the valuables. So how did he do that? By making a negas. So he said, there's going to be a negas. Somebody's going to talk Lashon Hara, and there will be Negoyim, and that will help that we should discover the gold. So this person didn't have to talk Lashon Hara. He could have let the next person talk Lashon Hara, and the next person would have had his house demolished, and he himself could have had the gold and the house. So since he chose to talk Lashon Hara, then he was punished that his house was one of the early houses that was demolished. That's what I think over here. Now, let's go a little bit further. So when the Kohein comes to check the house, so you have to clear out all the kalim from the house before the Kohein comes. The Kohein comes and he says tamei. So at that point, the house becomes tamei, and all the kalim in the house become tamei, and the klicheres become are worthless. So the Mishnah says, on the moment of a tzaddik. So merely you have to clear out the house. Why? Because the tumah only comes when the Kohein says tamei. Until the Kohein says tamei, there's no tumah. Now, not like other tumahs. It's not like that. Other tumahs, let's say you bring a mara to a rav. So the rav takes a look at the mara. He says it's tamei, so the isha is retroactively tamei. She doesn't become tamei when the rav paskens on it. And over here is different. When the Kohen paskens on it, that's when it becomes tamei. So I want to explain this idea that the tumah only comes when the Kohen paskens on it. So the Rambam says, the last halacha of mikvah in Hilchos Mikvah is dover bar v'galoi she'atumas v'ataris gzeres hakosafein ve'eino midvorim shedait alod machrosai v'rehei miklal hachukim. It's a chayk. Tumah tar is a chayk. V'chein hatvilim and atumas miklal hachukim she'ein atumim she'ein atumah tit oitzoya she'taver mayim el gzeres hakosafein. This is what the Rambam says. It's really a medrash. The medrash says the same thing. The medrash, only have a big medrash, so I typed it out, printed it out. So the story like this, that there was a guy that came to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, and he said to him, this whole business with the paraduma, it looks like kishif. So Rabbi Yaakov Yosef told him, listen, if you have like a certain sickness, don't you go grind up herbs and do it? So he says, yeah, of course. Because, so he says, this is the same thing. So the talmid, when he went out, talmidim asked him, Rabbeinu, is Tam being matchem? But what are you going to tell us? What's with this question? So he said, Amalem said, Chayechem, lo yahames metame, v'lo yamayim metarim, el HaKadosh Baruch Hu, el Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, chuka chakakti, gzeira gazarti. Now the Rambam in the Metzora goes a little bit further. I mean, it's really the same thing, but that's what he says. He says that there's no such thing as tumah. Tumah doesn't exist. If there would be no din Torah of tumah wouldn't exist. He says, he uses a lashon, I don't know, he uses an Arabic word, I don't know what the Arabic word is, and if I knew what it was, I wouldn't know what it means. But the translators, the Ibn Tibin translated as meduma. It's an imaginary thing. Tumah is imaginary. Friedlander all says it's imaginary, and Pines says it's fancied, and Kapach uses a word, says it's machshavti. And he explains in the footnote that it means it's intangible. So, but it's Parshas, it's imaginary. So the pshat's like this, that you think that there's a ruach tumah, it's a baklipa, there's some kind of a ruach tumah that's there on the thing. A person dies, so there's a ruach tumah on the dover metama. But Demis is not like that. Shatness exists. There's a metzias of shatness. Now, the Torah imposes an isser on the metzias of shatness. But before the isser, the metzias exists. Before the isser of tumah, there's no metzias of tumah. It's nothing. It's imaginary. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. But when the Torah is asers, that creates the reality of tumah. Tumah comes from the isser. That's when the Torah is asers, so that creates a reality, like ishus, let's say, right? Ishus, there's a bond between husband and wife. It's not imaginary. It's not pshat that you have to make believe as if there's a bond. No, there is a bond. But that bond only exists in the olam of halacha. When the Torah says that there is such a thing, then because of that, because the Torah was geyser, that there's something called kedushin, so in Mela, when a man marries a woman, there is a real bond of ishas created. But so tumah is the same thing. Without the issue of the Torah of tumah, that the isurim of going to the mikdash or the tyrus, without those isurim, there is no such thing as tumah. That's what the Rambam says. The reason why the Torah did this, he says that people should have eimah when they come to the base of mikdash. You come to the base of mikdash. It's not, it's just a casual thing. You come, you go, No. To come to the base of Mikdash, you have to go through a process, and you have to wait 7 days, and when you come in finally I'm here. It's like you have a tremendous reverence for the place. Look what I had to go through to come into this place. So today there should be a Moira Mikdash. The Torah created the parsha of tumah. And so there is tumah. I mean, if you learn that it's a klippa, maybe the klippa will make it, whatever it is. Tumah only exists because of the isser of the Torah. So Memela, when it comes to tzaras, the Torah says that tumah only exists when the Kohein says tamei. Before the Kohein says tamei, there's no tzaras, there's no tumah, there's no tzaras. Be'etzim is not metame. It's not like shatness. It's tzaras. It's just you have a nega. It's nothing. It's pimples. It's whatever it is. It's nothing. But when the Torah says that there's a Torah's Saras, Torah's Negoyim, so the Torah's Negoyim is what creates the Tumah. So the Torah says by Batim that the Torah's Negoyim starts when the Kohen says tamei. So now you can understand it better why before the Tumah, before the Kohen says tamei, there is no tumah, and then you take out the kalim before the Kohen comes, so mainly you save the kalim. So why taka does tzaras have this type of a din where other tumahs don't have it? Only tzaras you find that it's all totally in the Kohen saying tamei. You don't find it by tamei mes or by nevela. You have to maybe the chacham should come and take a look and say, it's taka dead, and that's when the tumah starts. No. Tumah, when it died, there's tumah. So I was thinking the pshat hazai that the goyim come for lashon hara. Why does the person talk lashon hara? Because he says, "What did I do? I didn't do anything. I just said some things. I didn't do anything." So the Torah is showing you that you could do a lot with what you say. What you say, you could create that the house becomes tamei, where the Kohen doesn't say tamei, the house is not tamei. The Kohen says tamei, the house becomes tamei. So there's a tremendous koyach in your dibur. So when you talk lashon hara, you also have a tremendous koyach. You can make tremendous destruction. Now I just want to conclude with one other point. Something I thought of this morning. That what you have to do when you find a nega, so you have to take a tziva koyin v'chiltos avonim v'shebem hanega. You have to take out those avonim, and you v'shlichol mechutz la'ir makom tamei, and then you have to lakchu avonim acheros. You have to take other stones and replace them. V'viu el tachas avonim. You put them in place of the other ones, And then the tachas abayis, he has to plaster. Now, why does he have to replace the stone? Let's say he leaves the stone out. So you might think that he has to replace the stone because the nega has to return in the same place, so you need another stone where the nega could return. But the Ramban brings Teres Kohein that says it could reappear anywhere in the entire house. So why can't you just leave this hole where the stone was? So I was thinking that what's the largest organ of a person's body? The largest organ is the skin. It's all over, but it's one encompassing organ which covers the entire body. So I'm thinking that the skin of a house is its plaster, its paint, its plaster. That's the skin of the house. When you have a nega, the nega infects the organ of the house, which is its plaster, its skin. The skin of the house becomes infected. So it's not just the spot, it's on the entire plaster of the house becomes infected. The Rambam says that you have to plaster the house, you have to plaster the entire house, not just the point where you took out the stone. You have to, okay, it says, V'tiachas kol habayis. Every part of the house has to be replastered. That means that you have to take out the stone. This skin of the house is infected. You have to give the house a new skin. And when you give the house a new skin, and the nega comes back in this new skin, in a different spot maybe, then this house is tamei, and then you have to demolish it. So therefore, in order to have a new skin, you have to replace that hole so that the plaster will cover the entire house, and then you'll have a new skin. And then when it comes back and there's nega, then the house becomes tamei and it gets demolished. Thank you very much. Next week we'll meet again and we'll talk about the Baal Shem Tov.